Alrighty. Get my notes here real quick. Okay. We'll call this writing a quadratic function from given information. Okay, it's going to, like I said, it's going to work pretty. We're going to rely pretty heavily on our graphing calculators. I will show you a way to do it without the graphing calculator, because some of you might prefer that, right? I've known students in the past that hated using the graphing calculators, hated it, and I don't blame them. Again, the technology is kind of old. It hasn't changed for at least 30 years, I would say, 25 years at least for sure. Okay, so it works, I guess, right? And people are used to it, so I think people are hesitant to experience change and stuff. But anyway. I guess Texas Instruments kind of has a monopoly on this stuff. Although I see, a Casio or two out there too. But anyway, so our goal today is to write a quadratic function just from some given information, right? Just to have a couple pieces of information and then come up with a function that matches that. So our first thing we'll do here is to write. So we'll say I don't know. Our directions would be something like what is the quadratic equation with vertex at 1, -2. And intersects the point 3, 2. Okay. All right, so first we'll do it without a calculator. So I'll show you the no calc, and then I'll show you with calc too over here. So we'll do no calc first. Okay. Now we can see here that our vertex, okay, it's transformed, it's shifted, right? How is our vertex shifted?
Over.
Okay, over how much? 1. And which direction? Right 1 or left 1? Right 1, and then which other direction are we shifted?
Up 1. Or whatever that other number is.
That's a -2 there.
Down 2.
Yeah, right 1, down 2. Okay? So how do we indicate that? Well, let's think about it here. Our transformations of the quadratic equation look something like this, right? Y equals A times x minus h squared plus k, right?
What's the name of that formula?
This is called Vertex Form. Okay, we're going to use Vertex Form. Makes sense because we have the vertex, right? All right. And so then in Vertex Form, right, if we're going to shift right 1, what number do I need to put in here with my x? If I want to shift right 1, I should have y equals a, and then I should have x what? If I want to shift right 1, what in here would indicate that I shifted right 1? A 1 is going to be +1 or a -1, though. minus 1, exactly right, Garrison, yeah. We want to have a minus 1 in there, okay? We'd have to have a minus 1 in there for that to work out.
So why do you change the sign to that?
It's just like we've been doing, right? Remember that the number that's, and this is going to be true in general, Luke, the number that we put in with the x, it's going to shift in the exact opposite direction of what you'd expect. And that's what we saw with absolute values, if you remember. It would shift the opposite, and then same thing here with squares, and then continuing on. Every other, kind of like unit after this, we're going to experience that same thing. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So, then what about this k here? How are we going to, what number should be right here for the k? Bobby said we're going to shift down 2, right? So what would a down 2 look like right here?
What do you mean? Oh, the down 2 would
Yeah.
still be in minus 2.
Yeah, at that point, right, it is what you'd expect it to be, a minus 2. So what's the only thing that's left for us to solve here?
A.
The a, right, okay? So, we have not yet used this point, and we know that this point works in our equation. So this 3 here, what variable can I put that 3 in for? It's an x-coordinate, right? So where can I put it in my equation? In for what variable?
X.
Yeah, in for x, exactly right. Okay, so plugging that in for x, and then I'll put the 2 in. What variable should I put the 2 in for?
Y.
Y, exactly right. Okay, so let's do that. 2 in for the y,
And then
3
solve for A.
in for the x, yep, and we're going to solve for a, exactly right. Okay, so I'll simplify right here. We'll simplify the 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, what is 2 squared?
4.
4. Should be a times 4 and then minus 2. Okay, and then what should we do here to continue solving for a? Think algebraically. What can we do? What kind of algebra can we do here to get that a by itself?
Move the A over and then move the 2 over.
So let's move the 2 over first. So we'll add this 2 to both sides. Add a 2 to both sides to cancel the minus 2. And then a times 4. And then how can I get rid of this times 4, which we do to both sides now?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4, right? And so you get 1 is a, right? Because 4 divided by 4 simplifies to 1. So there's our a value of 1. So our final equation is y equals 1 times x minus 1 squared minus 2.
How would you do that?
And the calculator, so I'll show you how to, so that's how you solve, that's how you figure out what the quadratic equation is here without a calculator, right? At no point do we really need a calculator there, except maybe to help you with some of your calculations and stuff. All right? Let me show you with a calculator. Okay. So with the calculator, okay, we need 3 points to use a calculator. We need 3 points. How many points were we given, though? Only given 2.
So we gotta find it.
So we can't use our calculator. Just kidding, we can. But we have to be a little clever here about how we're going to use our calculator. So we still have to do a little bit of work on our own. Okay, I'm going to plot this vertex. Okay. Is anyone still writing for the no calculator method? Is anyone still needing the no calculator part? No? Okay, I'll zoom in. Okay. And then I'll plot the other point 3, 2. So 2, 3, 1, 2. So 3, 2. Okay. So there are the 2 points that we were given. All right, remember, this is the vertex right here. So we have the kind of like line of symmetry that goes through that. So how can we use the information that we've got right now? How can we use the information that we have right now to find a third point? If we know where the vertex is, we have this point right here. Don't forget we have this axis of symmetry right here. So if we have point 3, 2, how can we figure out another point there besides that point 3, 2? Actually, I don't know if this is going to be helpful either. Now that I'm thinking about it. Let me try here. Negative 1, 2. I don't think it's going to help. Okay. What other point do we have here that has to be on our graph? If the point 3, 2 is on our graph, what other point is going to have to be on our graph? Okay, negative what? Negative 3? Okay, careful. How far away is this point from our axis of symmetry? 1, 2 units away. So we'll go 2 units away this direction. 1, 2. What's the coordinate right here? Negative 1, positive 2. So in other words, we also have the point negative 1, 2 by symmetry. Okay? If we have our vertex, that's our line of our axis of symmetry right there, right? And so we can reflect that 3, 2 over to negative 1, 2. Okay? And so we have a third point. Okay? Now that we have 3 points, everything else we can do is on our calculator. Okay? So let me show you here. All right, so get those calculators handy. Okay? Now we're going to do something you guys have done before back in Algebra 1. You maybe don't remember it, but it might come back to you a little bit here. Okay? And we're going to kind of like cheese things a little bit. Okay? This is like maybe not exactly how your calculator was intended to do what it's going to be doing here, but it'll work. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Press the stat button. So stat is below the delete button. Right there, S-T-A-T, stat. Okay. Then we're going to go to edit. Okay, we're going to clear out our lists. And don't hit the delete button to clear them out. Arrow up to L1, hit clear and enter. Arrow up to L2, hit clear and enter. Do not use the delete button. If you hit delete, let me know, because it'll actually like make your L1 and L2 go away. Okay. And then type in the 3 points you see here. So negative 1 and 2. Negative 1, 2. Negative 1 in the L1, 2 in the L2. 3 and 2. And again, 3 in the L1, 2 in the L2. And then 1 and negative 2. 1 in the L1, negative 2 in the L2, like that. Okay? Sorry, can you see the okay now?
What? No, it's the glare on the screen.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it should look like. Those are the 3 points, right, Bobby?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to go? Okay, press the stat button again. So the first thing we did there is we put the data into the calculator, but now we need to tell the calculator what to do with it. And so we're going to tell it to calculate, so arrow over to calc. And then we're going to go down to quadratic. What do you think quad is short for?
Quadratic.
Quadratic, you got it. So we're going to hit enter, and then go down to calculate if you have the calculator like mine, or just hit enter one more time if you have the other calculator. And there it is. There's your A, there's your B, there's your C. Okay, and so in this case, the calculator will give it to you in standard form. Okay, you see that standard form right there.
Is it okay in standard form?
Yeah, you can put it in any form you want. Notice the directions did not specify, right, what form to put it in.
On the test where the thing is constructed?
Nope, I won't care. So 1x squared minus 2x minus 1 will be our answer there. Okay, and if you were to multiply this one out, you would end up with this one right here. These two are equivalent to each other. Okay, but you're welcome to use that. Okay. And don't sweat that r squared number. The r squared there is just to kind of tell you how good of a fit it is. Since it's a positive 1, that means it's a perfect
Wait,
fit.
you have an r squared?
You might not have an r squared on yours. Mine does because I put the diagnostics on. Question?
How do you get to the last screen?
Last screen? Sorry. Stat, calc, and then quad reg
The
option.
stat over.
Yeah, stat arrow over the quad reg. And then you want to go down to the calculate if you have the newer calculator like I do. You do. Okay, so yeah. And you get to show up okay? Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So let's have you try another one here. So why don't you guys practice here, okay, and do this one. Again, what is the quadratic equation? And you can use your calculators if you want to here.
You still need 3 for your calculator?
You will always need 3 points for a quadratic on your calculator. But I'm going to give you 3 points in this case. what's a quadratic equation that has zeros at -1, 0, and 4, 0, and goes through the point 3, 2. Okay? Go ahead. Feel free to use your graphing calculators if you want to. Stat edit, put your numbers in, stat calc. Okay, so you can come up with it though. Stat edit, stat calc. And then Michael, you were able to figure yours out okay? Okay, I can show you. I can show you. You want to show me how to do it with yours? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. So let's see here. Menu. You have statistics right there. And so they're your list, L1, L2. Okay, so I'll have to take in the. Sorry, so one more time.
No, you're fine.
It's okay. 4, 0, and then 3.
Yeah, so maybe we're gonna have those so you can see the screen. Okay, where's the
Okay, so you see
screen
typing
on
in,
this
again,
calculator?
way out here,
Reflecting
menu,
on
and then
the
stack.
camera, you couldn't see anything.
Okay. Then I think you want to do calculate. Yes. Calculate. And then REG for regression. And then the x squared. So that's for your quadratic. So you just hit the F3 button. And voila, there it is. A, B, C. And it's in standard form. Okie dokie. Yeah, you're awesome. Can you? Yeah, go ahead. All right, go ahead. All right. Yep.
Let's go with TJ.
Yeah. No problem. Looks good. So recopy that down. So
That's what I did.
Okay, perfect. And you even change. Okay, be careful. 1.5 is not that. It's actually 3 over 2.
I mean, I'm sorry, my bad.
But that's right. Otherwise, yep. Good job, Bobby. That's exactly right. Okay. So with those 3 points, all right.
Does it matter if you leave it as a decimal?
No, I'll accept either way, but I do appreciate you changing it to,
Fraction.
a fraction there. Okay, and don't round, right? Give me the exact number. So if you see like 0.33333333, you can convert that to 1/3 and not 0.3. Don't round it to like 0.3 or something like that. So anyway, let me type these in. -1.
So like don't round it to or don't put it as 0.3 repeating.
You could do that. I would accept that. I guess you put like a line above 3 or something. That would be okay. Okay. So then stat calc, quadratic regression, calculate, and there are numbers. Okay, so in this case, it should be y equals negative, -1/2 x squared plus 3/2, 1.5 is the same as 3/2, plus 2. Okay. And voila, there's our answer.
So the test, we can just write that down.
Yep, you can just use your graphing calculators. That's fine. That's why I really encourage you guys to make sure you have those graphing calculators. It helps a super amount. Okay. If you don't have a graphing calculator, what are our options? Well, there's another form called Intercept Form that you can use. An Intercept Form is y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. Okay, and p and q are the zeros of your quadratic. So in this case, it'd be -1 and 4. So in other words, we write y equals a times x minus a -1 and x minus 4. Right? It's like the factored version of your quadratic, right? You just use that factored version. Okay. So in other words, this is y equals a times x plus 1, because minus a -1 there, and x minus 4. And then we have to find a. And how we find a? Just like we did in the last one. We're going to take this point here, that 3, 2, and plug it in. 2 in for the y, 3 in for the x. And we just solve for a. So we'll just simplify this. So 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 minus 1 is -1. So we end up with 2 equals -4a. And you just divide both sides by -4. and get a equals negative 1/2. And so then we could also have written this as negative 1/2 times x plus 1 times x minus 4. Okay. So either one of those is okay. These look different though, don't they? Well, that's because they're different forms. That's because they're different forms. You look here, right? A is negative 1/2. A is negative 1/2. Right? So you do have the same A value, and if you multiply this out and then distribute that negative 1/2, you'd have to put the same B and C values there too. It is the same if you multiply it out. Okay. Questions on any of that? So again, if you have 3 points, use your graphing calculator. If you have 3 points, use your graphing calculator. That's what I would suggest to do. All right, questions on any of that? All right. Then I have one other thing to show you. So we're going to change gears just a little bit here. Okay, we're going to change gears just a little bit, but it's the same kind of idea, and we'll use our graphing calculators again, okay, to help us solve this. Okay. What I'm going to show you here, I think will end up. It's going to end up as a question. I know it's a question on our review, and it'll be a question on the test too. So we'll go over this though here real quick. Okay. So let me just change gears here real quick. Last thing. Okay, and it's about solving a system of equations. Exactly. With 3 variables. Okay. This is another question that just shows up on our review. Okay, it's going to be on the test itself too. Okay. And I wanted to show it to you because it's, like I said, part of all that stuff. Okay. I'm going to use this. And this one involves a little bit more intense use of the graphing calculator, but I'll show you here. Okay. So let's say we've got. Here's a system. Okay, here's the system that we've got. So say we have a minus b plus c equals 0. A plus b plus c is equal to negative 2. And 4a plus 2b plus c is equal to negative 15. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this, solve this using your graphing calculator. Okay, but it does take some steps here, so I'll write it out. Okay. So we're going to do this using matrices. Use matrices, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So we're going to create 2 matrices. Okay. One matrix is going to be all of the coefficients of our variables. Okay. So for example, what is the coefficient of this A right here? What's the number in front? 1, right? What's the number in front of this B? Well, negative 1 though, right? Because it's, yeah. And what's the number in front of this C?
A 1.
A 1. Okay, so it's 1, negative 1, 1. What about the numbers in front of A, B, and C here in the second equation?
1, 1,
all,
and 1.
Yeah, all 1, right? 1, 1, 1. And then here, the coefficients are 4, 2, and then another 1. Okay? And we're also going to identify these 3 numbers right here as well, our solutions, right? So, we have how many rows here? How many rows of numbers do we have here?
3 rows.
3 rows, right? And how many columns do we have?
4.
4, right? 1, 1, and so the first column is 1, 1, 4. The next column will be -1, 1, 2. Okay? The next column will be 1, 1, 1. And the final column will be 0, -2, -15. Okay? So guys, I'm just showing we kind of changed gears just a little bit from the solving using our graphic calculator, finding quadratic equations using our graphing calculator, the quadratic. We're gonna the other one, a little thing here that shows up in our test is going to be solving a system of equations that has 3 variables in it. Okay, and the main way we want to do that is using our graphing calculators and a matrix in our graphing calculator. You can see right here.
You're going to show us how to use it on our
Yep. Yep, I'll show you here in just a sec, but it's important that we understand how to set up the matrix in the first place, right? So it's all of the coefficients, all right? So it's A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. Of course, it could be other variables, right? X, Y, Z is another typical one there. But you pull your coefficients, so it's 1, -1, 1, 0. So 1, -1, 1, 0. We create that matrix there. 1, 1, 1, -2, 1, 1, 1, -2. And then 4, 2, 1, -15. 4, 2, 1, -15. Make sure all your variables are lined up, and of course, and stuff like that too, okay? A, then B, then C, and that stuff. All right? So once we've got that, we're going to put this matrix into our calculator and then use it to solve. So let me show you how we access that, okay? So to get to the matrices, it's second button, and then x to the -1 if you have a newer calculator like mine. So second, x to the -1. Now, if someone in here, who did I give that older one to?
You gave me a TI-83.
Okay, and then that's, yeah, so for you, you actually have a matrix button, I think. Oh, never mind, no, yours is right there. Yes, never mind. Yeah, you gotta turn it on, sorry.
Yeah, the batteries are good. I need to get new ones.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you can follow along if nothing else then, right? So what we're going to do then is we're going to go, so these are the names of our matrices here. We're going to go over to edit though, and we're going to edit matrix A. Now you can see I already have stuff in here. Yours might be like blank right there, but hit enter. We're going to make our matrix have 3 rows and 4 columns. So type in the number 3 and then the number 4 to make that matrix, 3 by 4. Okay, 3 rows, 4 columns. Okay, and if you scroll over, you can see the 4th row right there, right? So my calculator only shows, our 4th column. Okay. So far, so good. And we're going to type in all these numbers. So 1, -1, 1, 0. And then 1, 1, 1, -2.
And so after you do the second x squared, where do you go?
So second, not x squared, second x -1.
Oh, -1.
Yeah, sorry, this button right here, Bobby. You can see it says that word matrix above it, so second x -1. And then you're going to go over to edit and hit enter. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then make sure you make that matrix A, make it a 3 by 4. And you're going to type in all these coefficients that we had right here in our original copy. Okay. So far, so good, Bobby?
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone else good on this one too? So far? Okay. So now we're going to press second mode and quit out. We're going to go back to the home screen. Okay. And here the command we're going to use. So second matrix again, go back to your matrix screen. You have to quit out first and then go back in. Okay. We're going to go over to math and have it do something, right? So it's kind of like what we did before, right? With the quadratic equations, we had to type the data in first. Then we had to have the calculator do some math for us. So we're on that thing. So we're going to math and scroll down until you see RREF. RREF, which is short for row reduced echelon form. Okay? Okay, it sounds fancy. And I guess it is, but anyway. We're going to hit enter. You see it shows up there in the graphing calculator's home screen, and now we're going to tell it what matrix we want it to do it to. So second matrix again, and we're going to do it to the matrix A we just typed all the numbers into. So we're going to do row reduced echelon form to matrix A with all these coefficients in it, and you hit enter. Okay, you get this fancy looking matrix here. Okay, and over here on the right column, these are our solutions. A is -4, B is -1, C is 3.
And what's that for? What kind of problem?
So that's when we're trying to solve this system of equations here. That's when we're trying to solve this system of equations here, Bobby. It gives us the three numbers that solve all three of these equations simultaneously. So when A is -4, when B is -1, and when C is 3, that solves all three of these equations simultaneously. Okay. That's the solution to all those equations. Okay. So again, I'll write out some of these commands here. So it's, second button, and then the X inverse button. Okay. And then edit. Okay, and make sure it's 3 by 4. And then enter coefficients. Okay. Right, we added it over to edit, and then it was 3 by 4, right? Made the dimensions 3 by 4, and we entered our coefficients. Okay, and then 0 to -2 to -15 as well. Okay. Then second, and when I box something in, that means it's a button. Okay. Mode. And the second matrix again, or second X -1 again. And in this case, we're going to, actually, I guess I should just do, and then math, and it's B, or it's just RREF. Okay, is what you want, RREF. Okay, and then second X -1 one more time, and matrix A. Okay, you get your answers there. Okay, so there are all the commands too. Yeah. All right. So there will be a question like that on your test. Okay.
Only one though?
Just one. Just one. Okay. On your review, it shows up as number 18. On your review, it shows up as number 18. Okay. So, I will stop there in order to give you guys some time to start working on your homework. And the homework I think I'm just going to have you guys do is to start working on the review. Okay. I will highlight the questions that model what we just talked about here in class. Okay, I would encourage you maybe to start with those, just to kind of like get your practice in or whatever. And then we can you can then work on some of the other questions. Okay. So the only homework, is to start looking at this review here. And like I said, I'm going to have you. Actually, I'll just make these 2 questions from the review homework. How about that? So make sure you get these done first, and then you can try whatever you want. So from the review. Number 18. And yeah, that might be it. 18 and 23A is the only homework. Okay, so I only want you to for sure finish 18 and 23A. That's all I will check tomorrow for your homework. But then if you finish that, and you will. 5 minutes you should be, for less than 5 minutes you should take to do that. But then I want you to go ahead and start working on the other questions here because this is your review. Sure. Okay. So let's get started, please. All right, if you want to move around and work with someone, that's fine, but please make sure you're working. Okay, I'm going to come and bug you. And you don't mean to bug you.
Mr. Ware. me out with the calculator.
Okay, I'll be right there. Let me just finish the video here, and I'll be right there.
Just getting editing. That's why I asked you to wear